say we jump on in that thing. I say we jump on in that thing. We jump on in that thing. I say we jump on in that thing. We jump on in that thing. I say we on in that on that thing. Do 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 do. Hey, what it do, YouTube? How do you do? Hoo hoo. If this is your first time sliding on through, as I always say, come on in, invite a friend. Matter of fact, invite about 10. We got a few more moments before we truly begin. You see how we doing this? I know. It's smooth as butter, baby, and even better for you. I am the Floating Yogi, and this is Floating Yogi's Book Club, brought to you by Yogi, Urban Yogic Wellness and Education, where we're restructuring health and wellness in the community, one healthy habit at a time. And thanks for joining us. Just wanted to drop a little bit of love. Ba, ba, ba. And as I always say, I'm just going to give y'all a few more minutes before we get this underway. And as I do that, let me see. Last but not least, we got one more IG. Speaking of phenomenal folk, which I haven't yet, but I will go ahead and do just that. One of the people who helped me beat me, helped me do what I do, my dude Brick LB, he's part of the crew. I encourage you to check him out for any of your digital asset needs or desires. It doesn't even have to be a need. You're like, you know what? I was thinking about this idea. Is this something we can do to get a little bit more reach to people? Hit him up. He'll even have some like dope, there we go. That's what we're looking for. Some dope concepts for advertising flyers and stuff. He can get, man, just check him out. Just hit him up. Editing needs. Bop, bop, bop. There we go. Now we about to get this last one on and popping. I'm just giving y'all some time to get it in, to get it rocking before the book club gets going, because once we get started, it's already going. Once we get started, it's already going. And hopefully you can run fast so you can catch the train when it's on the way. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Or you can come back and check the replays like my guy Brent LV and my guy Yogi. They're going to help make sure that you tuned in, tapped in, and that they are easily accessible and easily findable, right? All right. Last one's on and popping. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, now that we got IGs running, now that we got Facebook, YouTube, Zoom. Alright, so, y'all know we reading Who Moved My Cheese? And we're going to keep at it. We're going to keep at it. We're almost through with the book. We got about this week and next week until we are completely done. We might finish today, but we're going to see. We're going to see. We're going to see. And actually, I've been telling y'all to invite some people in, right? I ain't even invite the folk in. I just turned the joint on. Let me go ahead and get everybody on and popping in this thing. Throw some invites to your friends. And as I'm over here just surfing and scrolling and sending stuff out, I'm going to let you know a little bit about what we got going on. We have a daily accountability group that I highly encourage you to tap in. You could go to the UEDC stories, and there you'll find a question. They'll ask you, do you care enough about your well-being to move and meditate, or are you bullshitting on your greatness? Like, what are we doing here? Are we taking action towards growth and betterment, or are we stuck in stagnant? The purpose is the reality, being able to see and accept where we are and where we stand allows us to do so much. It puts the power back in our hand to make a change. Hey, what up? What up, Nay? I ain't seen you in a minute, though. Hey, you with this thing? Let's get it. We reading Who Moved My Cheese. Hopefully you vibing with it, heard a little bit about it, want to talk about change, want to grow with us and chat it up, because it's time, space, and opportunity for that. About to get to it. And if you want to be part of if you want some of the free services, we got free classes, we got free book club, free meditation. Everything's on the website, uedc.com, but you could even just check them out on IG. Here go the link, and that'll get you all the free access. And I'm gonna just pin that for anybody else that's interested. Courses.uedc.com. Boom. We're gonna go get a pen, and that will give you access to all the services, anything that you're looking for. What up, Damo? Welcome now. That'll get you an access to all the classes, and everything's expanding daily. I just finished recording the meditation series that'll be available as soon as we get it edited and put up. It'll be a 4-week course to get started with your own breathwork practice, and another one to get started with your own meditation practice, and ways to not just, I'm sitting and meditating and I'm not doing anything with it. I'm just like, this is the only time when I'm in this mind space. No, we got ways to implement it and bring it into our day-to-day life. Ways to find how we can utilize these techniques to better our well-being. And this is one of them. So, some of the thanks, like I mentioned before, I'd like to thank Payoga, a dimension where people are our greatest resource. I'd like to thank Brick LV. I'd like to thank UE, Lifeform. You know they got the fire mats, MyFitDC. Oh my goodness, it's so many people who help me be me, help me do what I do. We got my girl China, she just slid on through. What up, China? We got No Commercials International. Anyway, I highly encourage you to check these folks out. Check out these different businesses, these different brands, and I'm sure they have at least one thing that they offer that can add a little spark, a little light to your life. So, now it's my turn. I'm going to add a little bit, talking about change. Reading Who Moved My Cheese? Who Moved My Cheese? And we left off, if you're reading with us, I'm right there in solidarity, Brent. Just in another form. Liquid and gas, two different ones. So yeah, all right. We're on page 61, and after we're at the point where Hall has been all the way back. He's been all the way out in these streets trying to figure out where the cheese is. He's found different types of cheese, and now he's like, you know what? I learned a lesson. The quicker I let go of old cheese, the sooner I can find new cheese. Once I let go of holding on to who I thought I was, what I thought I had to do, what I thought was like important, a focus, then that opened up space and freed up my hands to catch the blessings that were around me, to grab the ones that were around me and falling in my lap. And I was just overlooking. So he was going back. He was like, that's my road dog. I gotta go back to Cheese Station C to see if he's still there. Is he still there looking for the cheese? Like waiting for it? Or did he grow some legs and start putting one in front of the other? Let's figure it out. After a while, Hall made his way back to Cheese Station C and found him. He offered him bits of new cheese. That means he was still there. But he turned it down. How do you turn down the new cheese? No. Him appreciated his friend's gesture, but said, I don't think I would like new cheese. It's not what I'm used to. I want my own cheese back, and I'm not going to change until I get what I want. Hall just shook his head in disappointment and reluctantly went back out on his own. As he returned to the farthest point that he had reached in the maze, he missed his friend, but realized he liked what he was discovering. Even before he found what he hoped would be a great supply of new cheese, if ever, he knew that what made him happy wasn't just having cheese. He was happy when he wasn't being run by his fear. That's where it starts. When you're able to make a change, when you free yourself from that prison that we put ourselves in from our mind. Knowing this, Hall didn't feel as weak as he did when he stayed in Cheese Station C with no cheese. Just realizing he was not letting his fear stop him and letting and knowing that he had taken a new direction nourished him and gave him strength. Now, he felt that it was just a question of time before he found what he needed. In fact, he sensed he had already found what he was looking for. He smiled and realized it is safer to search in the maze than remain in a cheeseless situation. Go in the rat race instead of just stay in a spot hoping that things will just turn out better for you. I support that because what frustrates me a lot is when I'm not making change, when I'm not taking action towards the goals and things that I say I want to manifest. If I'm just like chilling, hitting a J, drinking a glass of wine, hanging with my friends, and we're not even like forward focused. We're not even talking about, how we could either A, fix our situations and then following through with action, or B, how we could build and grow and network together, talking about the things that we're passionate about, the things that we want to manifest and see in this world. Then it's, like, why would I not be in that? Why would I choose to be in a space where I'm just going to sit when I have things I can do? I feel more accomplished knocking one thing off the to-do list than just sitting around not doing anything. And I'll be far more stressed out. Anyway, okay, I like that. Harv realized again, as he had once before, that what you are afraid of is never as bad as what you imagine. The fear you let build up in your mind is worse than the situation that actually exists. He'd been so afraid of never finding new cheese that he didn't even want to start looking. Yeah, I paused for a reason. My internet didn't mess up. I'm gonna just let that sit again. I'm gonna have to rewind that. Hall realized, as he had before, that what you're afraid of is never as bad as what you imagine. The fear you let build up in your mind is worse than the situation that actually exists. Right? You feel me? Hey, welcome, y'all. We out here reading Who Moved My Cheese. Hopefully you enjoying it. Hopefully you invite a friend. Matter of fact, hopefully you invite about 10, because it's the Floating Yogi Book Club, and you already know we already started going in. All right. So, he'd been so afraid of never finding new cheese that he didn't even want to start looking. That is just a powerful, good Lord, no. But since starting his journey, he had found enough cheese in the corridors to keep him going. Now, he looked forward to finding more. Just looking ahead was becoming exciting. The possibilities. Up, and away! I'm with it. His old thinking had been clouded by his worries and fears. Ooh, when I was talking about meditation, one thing that is so impactful, being able to see those moments when your fears change the actions. The question we were meditating on last Thursday was, what would you do if you weren't afraid? One that focuses us in on the things that scare us. It focuses us in on the things that we're not doing because of some reason. And then we can see the fear, and that in itself, realizing what scares us, what pushes us off. I highly encourage people to not say they're scared of nothing, because fear is a real thing, and it's super helpful, but we can do things while scared. I mentioned before, it's the same thing I tell myself, it's the same thing I tell Jumi. We can do things scared. Acknowledge the fear. Keep that sensitivity. Don't go numb to it. But know that you're stronger than it. That's true courage. All right. Let's see. His old thinking has been clouded by his worries and fears. He used to think about not having enough cheese. Now they're showing the train of thought of how we think when we're in this state of fear. He used to think about not having enough cheese or not having it last as long as he wanted. He used to think about what could go wrong, more about what can go wrong than what could go right. But that had changed in the days that he left Cheese Station C. Those experiences shaped and shifted his thinking. He used to believe that cheese should never be moved and that change wasn't right. Now he realized it was natural for change to continually occur, whether you expect it or not. Now he realized it was natural for change, whether you allow. Change could surprise you only if you didn't expect it and weren't looking for it. That's the kicker right there. Change could surprise you only if you don't expect it and if you weren't looking for it. We got to stay on the lookout for change. We have to keep the head on the swivel, as my dad would say. Head on the swivel. Not necessarily for change, but actually, let's go for change. Change is a much better situation because change will encompass the good things that happen. It'll encompass the not so good things that happen. It'll put us in a mindset where we're strategizing as opposed to planning. We have things laid out, but things don't have to go according to plan because we have audibles that we can run. You see what I'm saying? And Brent, if you feel like tapping in, if something strikes a chord, my guy, it's here for you. When he realized he had changed his beliefs, he paused to write it on the wall. Old beliefs do not lead you to new cheese. I support these thoughts. That's like doing the same thing over and over and expecting something different to happen. Guess what's going to happen 9 times out of 4? The same thing you got. A little bit of change being a good thing. Interesting.
I mean, if you want something new, you gotta give something new. You gotta.
You got to do something new.
That's the formula. Yeah.
And you saying that actually put it into a different perspective for me. Because one of the things that works for me is like, when it comes to the yoga practice, I tell you, it's like the Ashtanga practice is the same thing for the most part each day. And there's little shifts and adjustments based on how you feel and how you feel that day, because every body is different and everybody is different. So we all have like our own experience with this one commonality, this one similar thing. So as I go through it, I start to realize the little nuances and little changes that I do, from where I place my hands to where I feel the twist going up my spine. What muscles am I activating? Since I'm doing the same thing over and over, I'm starting to recruit new muscles to perform the same activities, which helps to encourage a little bit more ease of breath, ease of movement to flow through things. So I'm doing the same thing, but I'm expecting change. It's training me mentally to shift the way I look at the world, the way I look at the things around me, the way I look at the things that I could achieve and do. Hey, what up, Brando Flows? Welcome to the room. All right, old beliefs do not lead to new.
I think that like it's our estimation of things that we get caught up in just estimating things all the time. We think we've got it all figured out sometimes. I don't know what causes us to slip into that, but we let it's letting our fear rule us, but we're so comfortable with being afraid that we don't realize sometimes that it's just this. It's our overthinking. It's our estimation of everything around us, and it's leaving yourself this possibility of not knowing everything that sometimes helps us move in that space where I don't know. We find it hard to grow. We get stuck because we are too afraid to start something. You know, like you're so sure the outcome's going to be this or that. You know, but you really want to do something. So
I like how you said that. You put something, you kind of frame something for me, because a lot of times I do see fear, but sometimes the fear I mentioned before, I look for don't allow yourself to become numb to the subtle fears. Oh, could you turn your mic volume down a little bit so we can hear you a little better? I don't see the big issue being the large fears. It's more so the small fears that stop us from, that not stop us, but more so shift our mindset to look for comfort. And it's the seeking comfort that I feel like helps us to sit into that space of not looking for change, not expecting change. Because genuinely, a lot of times we're looking for comfort because we're looking for the reward of what we're doing. So I appreciate you saying that. You knocking some things in. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. And we flowing, man. Dang, I'm trying to stretch this book out for another week, but I don't think it's going to happen. Hall hasn't found any cheese yet, but as he ran through the maze, he thought about what he had already learned. Hall now realized that his new beliefs were encouraging new behaviors. Ha 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 ha! He was behaving differently than when he kept returning to the same cheeseless station. He got a little inspiration, a little spirit in him. He knew when you change what you believe, you change what you do. You can believe that a change will harm you and resist it, or you can believe that finding new cheese will help you and embrace change. It all depends on what you choose to believe. The power of belief. He wrote on the wall, when you see that you can find and enjoy new cheese, you change course. Oh, the possibilities! A different way to do it. Hall knew he would be in better shape now if he had dealt with the change much sooner and left Cheese Station C earlier. He would feel stronger in his body and spirit, and he could have coped better with the challenge of finding new cheese. In fact, he probably would have found it by now if he had expected change, rather than wasting time denying that change had already taken place. He used his imagination again and saw himself finding and savoring new cheese. Remember that imagination, that prefrontal cortex that puts us in a place to see and visualize our dreams? He decided to proceed into a more unknown parts of the maze. He found little bits of cheese here and there. Hall began to regain his strength and confidence as he thought back on where he'd come from. Hall was glad that he had written on the wall in many places. He trusted that it would serve as a marked trail for him and follow through the maze. If he chose to leave Cheese Station C, that is. That's also a little reminder for him, I'm going to say, because that's what I would do. I put a little reminder in there for me, something that's going to keep me going in rough times. That's something that's going to keep me on track, just refocus and recenter me. Hey, what up, Scotty Fit Yoga? Welcome, my dude. We reading Who Moved My Cheese? How do we cope with change? If you'd like to be part of the Zoom room, part of the discourse, you can see at the bottom, courses.ue.dc.com. You can sign up, become part of the crew. We got a whole bunch of free services for you and more coming through. All right. Hall just hoped he was headed in the right direction. He thought about the possibility that him would read the handwriting on the wall and find his way. He wrote on the wall what he'd been thinking about for some time. Noticing small changes early helps you to adapt to the bigger changes that are to come. And when I ain't even gonna go to the next page yet, I gotta speak to that because I was just talking about that when it came to the practice. Those small changes, those little things like over the years, playing with my hands closer together in a forward fold and down dog and up dog, how that helped me to lengthen the back. Oh, you see all this shoulder shrug muscles up there? Yeah, I was able to get all that action. And then playing around with it, wider grip allowed me to broaden the chest, broaden the back, create more space. So now when I want to jump into these handstands, I got the shoulder width to support it. You see what I mean? Noticing the small changes early helps
that part of that part of expectation, it changes over time. Like once you get into it, your estimation of things changes because your skill or your muscle memory or all those things that you've been developing have changed, and
yeah.
I just how quickly that can happen just by developing like a single habit. Like within a month, you might have a completely different perspective on what it was that's held you up for years, you know? So,
Legit. And that's why I mentioned one of the things with the practice that helps me is like literally every day on the days when I'm fucking exhausted and I don't even think that I'm gonna reach my daggone toes. And then I touch them and I'm like, oh, all right. Or I don't think my hands are gonna lay flat. And then they lay flat and I'm like, oh, wow, we're here. I do have this in me and it doesn't take that much. And I prove to myself that I can do things that I don't think that I can. How empowering that is. When you prove to yourself every day, you know that the mind plays tricks on you when that's the case. You know that there's a separation between your mind and your body and your spirit because you experience it. And it's that experiential knowledge that's the connection between the mind, body, and energies. We're gonna get deeper into that. We're gonna get deeper into that. I might have to bring back another non-story book to talk about those, cause good lord, and bring out some charts. I got some fun charts for us, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that nerdy stuff. You know, the things that I like a little later. We won't get to this book. All right. By now, Hall had let go of the past and was adapting to the present. He continued through the maze with greater strength and speed, and before long it happened. When it seemed like he had been in the maze forever, his journey, or at least this part of the journey, ended quickly and happily. Hall proceeded along a corridor that was new to him, rounded a corner, and found a new cheese station in. Oh! When he went inside, he was startled by what he saw. Piled high everywhere was the greatest supply of cheese he'd ever seen. He didn't recognize all that he saw, as some kinds of cheese were new to him. Then he wondered for a moment whether it was real or just his imagination. Running away with me. Oh, it's just my imagination. Running away with cheese. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, until he saw his old friend sniff and scurry. That's just how I imagine sniff and scurry. One and the other, and then that sniff following. Anyway, that far too deep, far too long. Sniff and Scurry welcomed Hall with a nod of his head, and Scurry waved his paw. Their fat little bellies showed that they'd been here for some time. Hall quickly said his hellos and soon took bites of every one of his favorite cheeses. He pulled off his shoes, tied the laces together, and hung them around his neck in case he needed them again. When you know better, you do better. Sniff and Scurry laughed. Ha 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 ha. They nodded their heads in admiration. You get it. It's gonna change. Be ready. Let's grow. Then him jumped into the new cheese. When he had eaten his fill, he lifted a piece of fresh cheese and made it toast. Hooray for change! As Hall joined the new cheese, he reflected on what he'd learned. He realized that when he'd been afraid to change, he'd only been holding on to the illusion that old cheese was no longer there. So, what was it that made him change? Was it the fear of starving to death? Hall smiled as he thought it certainly helped. Then he laughed and realized that he had started to change as soon as he learned to laugh at himself and at what he'd been doing wrong. Once he takes these things lightly, he realized the fastest way to change is to laugh at your own folly. Then you can let go quickly and move on. The fool can teach you many lessons if you know how to look. I'm just saying now, everyone's a teacher. It's all about what eyes we seeing with. I'm gonna have to take a sip on that now. That was unfortunately my last sip. I do want to get another glass of wine. I do. It's delicious. Pinot Noir. If you want to send me some wine, Pinot Noir, I'll be here to sign for it. Moving forward. Let's see. Then he laughed and realized that he started to change as soon as he learned blah blah blah. Blah. All right, moving on. He knew he'd learned something useful about moving on from his mice friends, Sniff and Scurry. They kept life simple. They didn't overanalyze or overcomplicate things. When the situation changed and the cheese had been moved, they changed and moved with the cheese. He would remember that. Hall also used his wonderful brain to do what little people do better than mice. He envisioned himself. That prefrontal cortex, that third eye, that ajna chakra. He reflected on his mistakes he made in the past and used them to plan for the future. That's why you got to be able to laugh at yourself, because anytime you self-reflect to plan for the future, if you're upset at what you did, that's going to throw you off from seeing the goal and seeing the clearest path to it. He knew that you could learn to deal with change. You could be more aware of the need to keep things simple, be flexible, and move quickly. You did not need to overcomplicate matters or confuse yourself with fearful beliefs. You could notice when the little changes began so that you would be better prepared for the big change that might be coming. He knew that he needed to adapt faster, for if you do not adapt in time, you might as well not adapt at all. That's kind of like where Hall's been at. He had to admit that the biggest inhibitor to change lies within yourself, and that nothing gets better until you change. Okay, yeah, they dropping gems now. Good Lord. Perhaps most importantly, he realized that there is always new cheese out there, whether you recognize it at the time or not, and that you are rewarded with it when you go past your fear and enjoy the adventure. He knew some fear should be respected, as it can keep you out of real danger, but he realized most of his fears were irrational and had kept him from changing when he needed to. He didn't like it at the time, but he knew that the change had turned out to be a blessing in disguise, as it led him to find better cheese. He had even found a better part of himself. As Hall recalled what he'd learned, he thought about his friend Him. He wondered if Him had read any of his sayings Hall had written on the walls of Cheese Station C and throughout the maze. Now he's like reflecting on his buddy. Had Him ever decided to let go and move on? Had he ever entered the maze and discovered that he can make life better? Or was Him still hemmed in because he could not change? Hall thought about going back to Cheese Station C again to see if he could find Him, assuming that Him could find his way back there, that Hall could find his way back there. Whoops. If he had found Him, he thought he might be able to show him how to get out of his predicament. But Hall realized that he had already tried to get his friend to change. Him had to find his own way, behind his comforts and past his fears. No one else could do it for him or talk to him. He somehow had to see the advantage of changing himself. That's sometimes the issue. You could take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And the same thing goes for people. Same thing goes for whatever situation they're in. I do my best not to just try to beat a dead horse over the head. Hey, this is what you... All right, I'm just going to be me, and hopefully you come around to it and you see the difference. You see the change. You see that this isn't what you expected, that you're assuming something, that you're taking something personal that's not. You know, we can go through the agreements now, but some shifts can be had. He went over and wrote down a summary of what he'd learned on the largest wall in Cheese Station Inn. He drew a large piece of cheese around all the insights he'd become aware of and smiled as he looked at what he'd learned. What had he learned? Let us see. Let us see! The handwriting on the wall. Change happens. They keep moving the cheese. Anticipate change. Get ready for the cheese to move. Monitor change. Smell the cheese often so you know when it's getting old. Adapt quickly to change. The quicker you let go of old cheese, the sooner you can enjoy new cheese. Change. Move with the cheese. Enjoy change. Savor the adventure and enjoy the taste of new cheese. Be ready to change quickly and enjoy it again and again. They keep moving the cheese. Your joys, your pleasures, your desires will keep shifting and changing as you go through life. Enjoy the pursuit. That's the simplest thing. Alright, Ha realized how far he had come since he'd been with him in Cheese Station C, but knew it'd be easy for him to slip back if he got too comfortable. So each day he inspected Cheese Station N to see what the condition of his cheese was. He was going to do whatever he could to avoid being surprised by unexpected change. While Hall still had a great supply of cheese, he often went out to a maze to explore new areas and stay in touch with what's happening around him. Do that with life. I'm speaking for my hermits, for my people who like to go in the cave and get lost in what they do. Step out, here and there, like once a week, once every other week. Step out. I was having a conversation with a friend today, and like one of the things that was super impactful to the both of us was us finding something outside of yoga that we thoroughly enjoy. And for me, it's pool. It allows me to see perspectives differently. I just started taking on things so much faster, so much smoother. But that was the case. That was the, oh my God, yes! Oh my gosh, yeah, just gonna pour it in there. Just gonna pour it. Yeah, go on, show 'em what's happening while I'm getting excited. Chila!
Hey!
With the whiner! Thank you! Ooh.
I heard you. I felt you.
You. Thank you. Amazing friends. Did I expect change? No. Was I prepared for it? Yes. Moving forward. So yeah, we were talking about having something that was outside, and that helped us to prepare for change, because then we were able to take things lighter. I talked about the fool. I talked about the lessons we can learn from them, and taking ourselves lightly, not being like, so, oh, we have to do this, it has to be this, with all this rigidity to it. It's not good for us. It's not good for us. Once you see it, make the shift. That's simple. That's simple. You ain't even got to beat a dead horse. Moving on. Then Hall heard that. Rewind. There we go. While Hall still had a great supply of cheese, he often went out into the maze, exploring new areas to stay in touch of what was happening around him. He knew it was safer to be aware of his real choices than to isolate himself in his comfort zones. Good Lord, this is not underlined. Why? He knew it was safer to be aware of his real choices than to isolate himself in his comfort zone. Pause. Right? Then Hall heard that he was Hall heard what he thought was the sound of movement out in the maze. As the noise grew louder, he realized that someone was coming. Could it be that him was arriving? Was he about to turn the corner? Hall said a little prayer and hoped, as he had many times before, that maybe at last his friend was finally able to cheese and enjoy it. And that's the end of the book, y'all. To move with the cheese and enjoy it. They don't even tell you if that was him. Ha! It's comedy, you get it? Even the ha was ha, right? It's a double pun. It was kind of corny and cheesy. Ha! I'm nailing it. This is holy cheese. Call it Swiss. Put a good call. All right, that was just far too bad. That was super cheesy. I keep doing it, and that was not unintentional. But we are going to read the rest of the book, but we're going to stop here. We got about like 15 pages left, 14 pages left, but we're going to stop here. We're going to stop here because the rest is a discussion about the story. And I was talking before about they have discussions about how this story played out in different scenarios, work, personal, and we'll get into it. They talk about a discussion from later that day. But that's where I want to end it today. I think that is a solid spot because there was so many gems in this one. I truly believe I could chop this up and have mad great content for y'all. So hopefully Brent's picking up what I'm putting down. Not yet. But, y'all gonna have some stuff soon. Did you want to tap in and say anything? I got a full glass of wine and daggone it.
I don't know, man. Go get your new cheese station, bro.
I feel that. I gotta get to my cheese station. What is it? Cheese station P. Pool tank clan ain't nothing to mess with. Anyway, with that being said, we're gonna finish it up with the discussion next week. We're gonna talk a little bit more about ways that we can utilize the lessons in these stories, because that's what I believe it gets into. Granted, it did a great job breaking it down throughout the book. Again, if you're not familiar, Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. Great, simple, fast read. I highly encourage you, if you have not read it, to tap into the story. Tap into, buy the book, get the PDF, listen to me read it out to you. It's about changing the way that we see what health is, because the information that we put in our mind is just as important as the information we put in our mouth. So, with that being said, I'd like to thank Britt LV. Woo! I'd like to thank Payoga Universe, baby. I'd like to thank No Commercials International, UE, Urban Yogic Wellness and Education, where we're restructuring health and wellness in the community, one healthy habit at a time. I'd like to thank Lifeform Mats for the fire slip resistant mats with the dope designs. I'd like to thank MyFit DC, Born to Fly Fitness, where mental health is wealth and fitness is fashion, baby. All the people who help me be me, do what I do. Nadia Star, part of the crew. No Commercials International. Buddha, Blessing. Goodness gracious, it's so many people who are a part of this.
Derek, what's up with that shirt? When is that going to be available, man?
This one's not going to be available. Daggone it. This is my teaching shirt. When you see me come through, it might be black, it might be white, it might be blue. I'm going to make it do what it do.
Well, I like that,
But I will be having some shirts available. We're going to get into that. We're not there yet. We're not at production. I'm working on design. And then they're going to be available. They're going to be up on the website. The UEDC website, also on the Floating Yogi's website, because I gotta rep my own stuff. And we're gonna vibe, y'all. We're gonna vibe. It's gonna have some of my saucy quotes, and we're gonna have a couple options for you, so you can, live the life you want to live, be the reflection we want to see in the world, and hopefully others resonate with that reflection and bounce it back to us. That's what I'm doing. Hanging with awesome people, throwing love and light their way, and they like this. Ping! Take it back. Ping! Take it back. Ping! Here's some more. Ping! And I'm like, Ugh, great serve. Awesome move. So fast. Anyway, this has gotten far more corny than I thought it was going to. But the sentiment is real. With that being said, check out the Sunrise Flow Mondays. Mondays at 7. Check out the book club Mondays at 6 p.m. Check out the midday meditation at Thursdays at 12. There's always something here for you. The replays are available. Get in touch with the community. UEDC.com. Sign up and let's stay connected, y'all. Peace and love. King's Queen to God. Richland City Yoga. I'm trying to come out there and bring some sound healing sessions for you. Bring a little Ashtanga love, breathwork, meditation. But I'm going to slide in the DM, send you an email shortly by the end of next week if the babies don't come. Anyway,